He is a Muslim international travel performing Muslim comedian that is breaking open the comedic circle of comedy for Muslims. He said he was 12 years old in that picture. Me and Moses actually met in 2012 during a Bermuda comedy competition. We instantly hit it off, and we still talk about this amazing fish sandwich that we had when we were there. And actually, the day we were leaving, we went to some restaurant. He may remember the name of it. And their food was very British. We found, I think they had boiled bananas or something. And we was like, okay, we're going to make this work. I think we got some eggs and fish or something like that. But yeah, so please welcome my brother, my friend, Moses, the comedian. We're going to get into all of everything he has done, been doing, and will be doing. Okay, we were actually late because I had to go change my necklace. And he told me that this is the door of Kaaba, one of the great mosque doors in Mecca. So we're going to talk about that. Please welcome my brother, Moses, the comedian. My daddy gave me this when he went. So that's why I had to change it. Moses!
Hey! One. Shout out to all the pre-production. I'm ecstatic to be here. Right off the top, I just got to give you your flowers for your waiting room. Because for those of you watching this, when y'all first came in, it was like a little Wakanda waiting room. She had the nice profile picture going. I was back there jamming. Y'all was jamming too. I was like, oh, okay, this is nice. So shout out to the pre-production people. You know who you are.
You are a mess. Moses, thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, my brother?
Alaikum salam, my beautiful queen. I am so ecstatic to be here just to have the invitation. Because whether you know this or not, I know you're probably here to give me some flowers, but I am such a huge fan of yours since we met at that time in Bermuda. Wallahi Azim, you just hands down were my favorite comedian. And just to see your growth and everything, I've been like so inspired by you.
You know what, Moses? Thank you. I will pay you. Like, you just really rehearsed that very well. First of all, Moses is so dope. He had to remind me that I don't think you get into age, do you? He's almost 40. I think that Moses is 23 in my heart. I think he's 23. We actually met.
57 just for men, keeping me young.
Right. Get your numbers together. So it will be 11 years ago next month that we met. Yeah, wow. Bermuda is beautiful.
We had a blast, man. It was me, you, John, Kiana
Dancy. I think you said
D-Lay. I was trying to find a picture, man, because I feel like I'm missing somebody, but it was a big
flat. She booked us. I forgot. I can't even remember the guy, the comedian that booked us. When he told us that the prisoners get to go swimming in the ocean. Did you remember that? It's a co-ed jail, and they get to go swimming in the ocean.
What I remember so much about that show, for those of you who don't know, we went out there. It was called Shipwrecked. We went out there.
That's
it was
right.
Like a little comedy, little competition thing. First of all, Queen killed it, won the competition. But what stood out was we all thought we had great sets. She went out last, and it was, I forget the guy's name, but the host or the guy that brought us out there, little shirt guy. She wound up doing this whole bit. Y'all know Queen when she's on stage, she's interactive. That was the first time I saw a comedian. You picked him up, did this whole spin around thing. I said, I definitely lost, but she has a new fan.
We had a really, really good time. And, I don't know if you remember, it was so much history about the slaves that came into the country, to Bermuda, and the area where we had a lot of historic and a lot of artifacts. Yeah. In that area. Yeah, Bermuda is it's beautiful. It's expensive. I actually went to, I don't know if they call it the other side of the island. Did you get to tour around when you were there?
That was actually I think that was my one and only time to Bermuda and I've been so many places since. I haven't been back to Bermuda since that Shipwreck show.
This is what's so crazy. So when B hit me up to do it, I was like, okay, I'll go. And I just looked at it as, for real, I was just like, I'm going to Bermuda. I was like, I'm going to Bermuda. I hope I don't get caught up in a triangle. And as we got closer, I didn't know where the triangle was. I need to look up that. My mother had been, but I didn't know where the triangle was. But I was like, I'm just praying that if anything happened to me, that my family know I love them, and all of that. I didn't know how it was going to happen. The hotel was the presidential hotel or wherever we stayed. That was beautiful.
That was my first time going somewhere ever in my career where, when I got off the airplane and came outside, someone had a sign. Well, I still have that picture of them, the man holding. It was handwritten. It was handwritten, but my name was on a piece of paper, and I thought I was the stuff.
You was like, I did this.
I did this. I made it. I made it. I'm
right.
2-3 years in, and I was like, I've made it. International show, and I got my name on the sign.
Yeah, we had a really. It was fun. It was fun, and I think was it 2 days we were there. It was a quick trip.
Because remember, we did radio. We went and did
a club or a party too, and
some sort of party. I know. I remember kind of hanging by the pool. It was a kind of R&R day. So it was. Oh, you know who else was there? That's what I remembered. It was tall. Yeah.
That is. And Eddie is my baby. That's like my little brother. Don't be jealous. But Eddie was there.
So it was a whole gang of us.
It was cool. Like when I placed in the finals, and it was like I'm coming back. I was like, okay. I'm coming back. I'm coming back to Bermuda.
You crushed it.
Thank you.
Thank you. From 2011, 2012, whenever that was, till now. I mean, so much has happened.
Yes. But I'm just proud of you, just seeing all that you're doing. So first of all, let's talk about this. You're from Philly. How many siblings is it of you all?
Man, that I know of. I'm the baby. I'm the baby. Well, my mother had 6, so I'm her baby, the baby of 6, and then my father had 2 more. So I do have 2 little brothers. So total, there's 8 of us.
Okay, so you're 6 like we have 6. Do you have 4 or 3 girls? How is it?
But so it was 3 boys and 3 girls. Me and my brother Fatine, we're the bookends. He was the first, and I was the last.
Wow. So so with us, it's all 3 boys, then the 3 girls. Wow. Aishah, hence first life, beloved and from. Then for Aishah for Ra. Yeah.
Come on.
Okay, come through. So
I always say that my mom kept having children until she got it right. That's why I was her last, because once there was no reason to have any more. So
I think I saw you post something like that. Well, I say that it was like counting my oldest brother from my dad. After 4 boys, they celebrated me. It was an honor for them to meet me. They actually had birth announcements created for me, like don't disturb the star while she's sleeping, crib side, don't do that. And my dad
spoke that over your life, because look at you now.
You better
listen here. Okay. They spoke it into existence.
Okay, you better know about it. So listen. So how did you get started in comedy? Were you ignored?
I think just a baby of 6 children. I think I had all the hand-me-down conversations, clothing, every experiences. You pick up a lot of the stories secondhand. My famous story about doing comedy at my 25th, but the only surprise party I've ever had when I was 25, they had a 25th birthday party for me. And at that party, there was a female comic, female hijabi comic in the city at the time, this was unprecedented. This was in 2009, 2010, where now you can see them, everywhere. You see hijabi comedian, but at that time there was a girl named Lady Smith, and she came to. I grew up with her, and she came to this birthday party, and she told me in like a couple of weeks she was going down to the Laugh House to do the open mic night, and it was like I was so inspired by that. Like, if this Muslim sister can do it, we stepped in the hallway. I never forget, and she said, if I do it, you'll do it. And that was our motto, and for like the next couple of weeks, we had decided we was going to go down, sign up. They had this thing down there. I told this story recently, man. Shout out and God bless to the late, great Sugar Bear, D. Holland.
That's my baby.
Sugar Bear, literally Sugar Bear, probably top 5 comedians in my life that I ever saw physically. Sugar Bear is on that list. He was just an amazing comedian. They used to have something at the Laugh House called Funny Money Wednesdays. And you got paid where when you're on stage, a bucket is being passed around in the audience.
I like that.
Money, they put money in there. If you're not, you don't. So we got, when we got to the event there, we got there too late to sign up. And this is my brother's claim to fame story. My brother, shout out to my brother Fatine from Kindred the Family Soul. He showed up. That they wouldn't let us sign up, but he came into the door. They saw him, and he used what he calls the K card, and he was like, "This is my little brother," and his friend. They really trying to get on the show tonight. So we wound up getting, long story short, signing up and got onto the show. We did our little 5, 6, 7 minutes, and we was like off to the races, man. Fell in love.
And you got money that night?
It was about $61 in there, and I later did find out 60 of it was from my mother, but that dollar was a fan, and that's all I needed to keep me going. You understand?
That's right, Mama. Come through.
Mama put the 60 piece in there, though.
So 2 things. I miss Sugar Bear, and I have a Sugar Bear story. I was thinking about him recently, like within the last month. I know that when he had moved to North Carolina before he passed, and I was talking to him about like just green juice and doing things like that. That just a funny story. So I don't know if you remember Get Down, Dwayne that worked there. So that's like my brother, you know. So of course him and Sugar Bear were cool comedians. So I would stay over Get Down's house sometimes when I came to town to perform. Get Down would give me his bedroom, and we had company. We just gonna say would like for whatever he would bring them through the bedroom, but he always had to introduce me to them when I was asleep. He'd be like, yo, this is my sister. So he was basically saying, you're not getting in the bed because she in the bed and we're going to get on a futon.
Okay,
that's all I'm going to say. I think I said too much already.
Okay.
But anyway, so one night I had a show. We went to some little neighborhood bar that had the real good garlic crab legs. And I think Cassidy was there. I think he had come through hanging out or whatever.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. I forgot my pajamas. I forgot something to sleep in. So we went to like Walmart and they ain't really had nothing. I think it was Walmart. They ain't really had nothing. So I got, like the Nana gown.
Did you get
the Nana, the button down with the pockets. And then I put my bonnet on and came out. I think I went take my shower and came out and we was sitting there and we was eating.
And Sugar Bear roasted. I know he lit your ass up.
He said, all I know is we having pancakes in the He was like, Queen, what in the cotton picking?
Oh my gosh, Sugar
like,
Bear.
What do you have on? Oh my God! When I tell you, I miss him.
You know what? I always say I love even speaking about him because you rarely have a chance to really give a person their flowers. Mm-hmm. And when I found out that he was sick, I got a chance to call. He was always that comic since I had saw him that day that I would put on a pedestal like, will Sugar Bear find this funny? He never probably knew that, but he became my like, was Sugar Bear find this funny? He was my Richter. And so years later, when I found out that he was sick, I never forget I called him. And this might have been subsequently maybe a couple of weeks before he passed. And I called him. I didn't even recognize his voice when he answered the phone. I was like, can I speak to Sugar Bear? He was so frail. And on that conversation, I got a chance to tell him exactly what he meant to me, how much he had inspired me in my career. And I gave him all his flowers. And I felt so good about that conversation because he passed shortly after. So at least he knew how I felt about him.
Yes, we had a good time. And I would call and check on him. And he had his spirit as long as he could, even with everything that he had going on. So yes, I miss Sugar Bear.
And he was my first time on stage. And, it just snowballed after that.
Yep. Awesome. And Laugh House is a great historic Black-owned comedy club on South Street in Philly, like the epicenter of Philly.
Everybody came up and through there. That was the home.
And everybody came on South Street. Like you couldn't miss it. Like we had a good time. So, and rest in peace, Mona. Like Mama Mona, I loved her. Very supportive.
Everybody. I came up in Philly seeing all of the the great Philly comics there and just going to the open mics and, shout out to Touré and Kevin Hart and all the different, all the really big pioneer staple comedians from Philadelphia that really just gave us that foundation.
Yep. And that's where I met Kevin at. I met Kevin when he was Lil Kev.
Lil Kev.
Remember he was Lil Kev. Met him there. Yep. Yeah, we had a good time. Laugh House
used to be there. You know what I mean? All the good comics, man. And Naeem and all that. I remember John Witherspoon in there when I was, younger, and like that was just a spot that you would come. Every city I felt like had like the white club and like the black club, and that was a club we would be in, and that's where I met and saw Dion, and I would see the Michael Colliers, and did get a chance later in life being able to go see them as a patron, but then later in life sharing the stage with these people, that was like transformative for me.
That's awesome. It's so interesting. So you just got right on stage as a comic, whereas though I studied. Like people was telling me you should do comedy. Are you a comedian? You should. So I started I was nervous first. That's how I started working at the radio station. I started volunteering. I was like, oh, I'm nervous. Blah blah blah. My mom said go volunteer to build your confidence and courage up with your public. So I did that. So I read books, stand-up comedy with Judy Carter, all of those things, and would watch the local and national comics when they came to town in DC at all the comedy clubs there, right? And then I started going on stage. But you just said, you know what? I'm just jumping up there. I think the money drove you. I think the money was what made
Listen
you.
here, that's 61. It meant something to me. But and I grew up too. Everybody, the baby of 6, and just kind of getting in where you fit. And everybody like, you're so funny. You're always the class clown. You should be a comic. You should be a comic. I will say in hindsight, thinking back on it, but comedy is one of those technical type things, and anything that you master where it's such a science to it. And a lot of times, like just being funny is just one aspect of it. Probably, I'm not gonna say it's not the most important aspect, but I've learned so much over the years of the science. And you and I actually had great conversations in Bermuda that I cherish to this day, of times when you were the one even just really taught me about branding. How we are our own brand. Back then he was trying to even telling me about the Moses the comic and the comedian. And, so those kind of conversations were like just laid the groundwork for how I think I tried to situate myself.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's a science to it. And you have people that can remember, and I don't want to downplay. You have like, this is what you do. It's in you. It's in your DNA. And then you have those, in Los Angeles, they'll have a lot of actors come out to do comedy, stand up, to be put in front of the producers who may be in the audience at the comedy clubs.
Right.
Their agent or manager may say, go, write a set or go do comedy, because you never know who's going to see you. Now you got some people they funny. If they funny, they funny. Now funny sometimes in front of your family is different than funny on stage, and a lot of people don't find that out till they ass get there. Because your people have been laughing for you all this time, but it's not that you're not funny. It takes work. Nothing takes the place of your microphone.
Yeah, but you know what? Ha Ha Davis. A shout out to Ha Ha Davis. I respect him. He was on the Breakfast Club before, and he's a big Instagram comic that just got famous with the 60-second clips. And he told that story. He talked about there's a difference between market value and brand value. And when you get to a point to where it's like your name might be so big because you got a bunch of followers, but that doesn't mean that like the brand of you or your comedy is big. So he was saying how he was getting booked to do these 300-400 seaters, and he's filling the seats and people coming out, but he didn't know what to talk about past 2 minutes, past 60 seconds. And he was like, it was a rude awakening for him because, they might, a promoter look at him, he think you're going to fill the seat. So they'll put him on there with going after Tony Woods or Lawrence Owens or somebody that's going to light him up. And then you think you're coming out there and you following that. So I loved how he talked about that in mainstream.
And that's honest.
About the seriousness of the craft.
Yeah, it's true. And I this is what I heard, that, like I used to do a bunch of colleges. Years ago, I used to do like colleges all the time.
That's how you get your bones, I heard. I'm scared of colleges. Yeah. That's how you get
colleges.
Your bones.
It's really good. But you have to remember, the colleges, they're 13th year college. I mean, they're 13th year high school. So you gotta do that comedy, right? And then at a point, I was like, there's certain things that I don't talk about. There's certain things I'm not interested in. It's good money. It's great money. But they were saying how like a lot of the comics from, I'm gonna say a lot, but some of the comics from Wild 'N Out, because they started doing all of the colleges, which is great, but they didn't have the same thing. They didn't have the timing. It was very few of them that had the timing, because when you're doing a comedy show, it might be a 2-man show. It might be a 1-man show. No, typically it's a 3. So I used to always do it with Tony Roberts and Rob Stapleton. We always got booked.
You were just doing a feature headliner, and
and we had it down. Tony would go host, I would come in and feature, and Robert Stapleton would shut it down. And that no matter where we were,
that might pop in. You just need 3 people.
That's it. But sometimes it'll be 2 people. So somebody gonna host and do all day 45 because they want 45 minimum, and then the next person gonna close a headline and they gonna do their 45. Like even when I would go overseas and do the military bases, now that's normally 2 people. I've done
a military. I've done 1 military base, and actually it was a great experience for me. It was over in the UK.
Yes, let me tell you something. The military, I have friends that I met over in the UK, Japan, South Korea, that we are friends to this day. Because, like you said, relationships. It's about relationships. And So I mean, comedy, you got to hit that stage. You got to do that work. So you got on. So you've been doing comedy how long now?
I think I just celebrated 14 years, maybe.
And you're only 23. That is amazing. That is just amazing.
Yeah, 14
so
years.
Tell us about the Muslim Kings of Comedy. And was it Wing Cafe you did a big show at?
The World Cafe Live. So, but basically,
I said Wing Cafe. I must be hungry.
That first like 3 or 4 years, I was doing comedy, and from that first Laugh House, I started doing, you know, the heliums, and I was I remember I went out of LA and I kind of for a minute was up under what's my man they used to do at the Comedy Store, Chris Spencer. You know, I was doing a tripping on Tuesdays, and I was doing that whole little circuit and everything, and it was great. But I just was so unfulfilled, and to be honest with you, in those environments, because I could never get like my friends and family to come out because they wasn't comfortable with the environments. And around 2014, 2015, I had really kind of my father had passed, and before my father passed, his thing was always, you know, never compromise your integrity for success. You know, that was always his thing, when, you know, just to bless me with, you can go out, do anything you want to do, but don't have to compromise your integrity to do it.
That's right.
I was in environments after a while where I just felt like I just didn't like it anymore. And when I prayed on it and was intentional about kind of following another path, that Super Muslim Comedy Tour is with Omar Regan and I. So there's a gentleman named Preacher Moss, who's like the godfather of the Muslim comedy world. You know, early in about 2000, he created something called Allah Made Me Funny. And they had
I remember
the Allah Made Me Funny tour with him and Mo Amer and Preacher Mo, Mo Amer and Asar Usman and Azim Muhammad. And that was like that tour. That was the first like Muslim comedy tour. They did over $1 million in ticket sales.
Wow.
And so that really kind of like opened that floodgates. And since then, so many of the different, you know, comedians that really established themselves. Omar Regan, you know, started a thing called Hollywood, where it was like able to tell, curate, and create and tell our own stories. And we created the Super Muslim Comedy Tour, which was, you know, we can just go out. We don't have to apologize or make concession. And we did that tour. Nobody in America wanted to take it. They was taking it all around. And then he wound up taking it over to the UK and picked it up. And we did like a 10-city tour. That I'm suddenly now doing a 10-city international comedy tour. And, you know, since then, it's just been, I just went full steam ahead into that world. And so the Muslim Kings of Comedy came about from there only being 4 African-American international Muslim comedians.
Wow.
Written in that market: Preacher Moss, Azim Muhammad, myself, and Omar Regan. And, you know, so that was the first time all of us, and we've all worked together individually here and there, but we never all have been on one stage. And the Muslim Kings of Comedy was a show I did in partnership with Haverford College, where I was facilitating a course on Black Muslim history. So I said, you know, a part of the course was the students integrating into the venue to curate and produce this event. And so they shared a different department of World Cafe Live, from the box office to the operations. To
so you got free labor? I know that's right on an internship. I know that you need credit.
I opportunity to do a show, and I said, well, why not just have my students produce the show with me? That's what we did, and it sold out. We sold out in Philly. Right. First time.
You so Philly. That's all I'm gonna say. You so Philly. That's awesome. So let me ask you this. So when you're on tour, before you go on tour, how do you prepare yourself mentally, your set, your wardrobe, flying? Because that sleep, people don't understand. That sleep ain't no joke.
And if you've ever toured multi-cities, when we're doing a Super Muslim Comedy Tour, the international one, we were doing 10, 11 cities. And I'm talking about it's every night. So we're doing Monday night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You're doing a show every night. So as a comedian, you know, for me, that anxiety that kind of happens, it's like nightly that you're having that, you know. Recently, I just spoke at this thing in Chicago called the Black Psychology Conference, right? Okay. They had us come down, me, Asia from Kindred, and Mumu Fred, panel, great panel. And they asked a question on there, and one of the questions was, what brings you joy? And it was a very poignant question, because my answer was, she was like, when was the last time that something brought you joy, right, in your preparation? And the example I had used, where they had sent a car for me to bring me to that very conference. It was like a 4-minute ride from my hotel. And when I got downstairs, the gentleman said it was about a 4-minute ride. It was about a 10-minute walk. And I got my new wireless headphones, and when I was walking downstairs, I was just my favorite song was on the headphones, and I told the guy, I'm a walk it. You know, I was you know, an hour early anyway. And that 10-minute walk, Queen, was so joyous for me, because you know, when we're on go and we're artists and we got a million things that we're doing, sometimes just being intentional about creating space, mental space for yourself. You know, that 10-minute walk, I listened to my music, I cleared my head, I went over my talking points, and it was so joyous, just that 10 minutes, that, you know, to answer your question, it really is just being intentional about creating that space in the midst of the chaos.
It's true, and that's I like what you said, creating space, and that you chose to walk because that fresh air, that oxygen, getting your mind right, like you need that, and then also
take you there. You might just got to put the beans and just get going, you know.
And the music, and it's so funny because when you create that space and you're not like when I said when I went to Bermuda, I'm like I'm just gonna go. So you just allow yourself to be open and let whatever download in you, whatever flows and encourages some creativity just to let it happen. So yes, I like that. So when you were doing you said 10 shows and it was every night. How was your sleep? Because like when I come off stage,
jet lag too is serious overseas.
Yes, the jet lag, like you high after you come off stage. But you're adjusting to jet lag. You high when you come off stage because you're so excited, especially if you had a bomb set. You might go hang out afterwards. And then you may have to get up the next morning early to fly out, drive to the next city. So how did you handle that?
And I think that old saying that, innovation is rewarded, but execution is worship, right? It's just like that whole creativity. It was so funny in the beginning, that first tour. So we did 10 cities the first tour. I think about like 13 cities the second one we did. And from learning from the first one, because I was so burnt out from the jet lag and every night being on stage performing, then the anxiety, then the very next night, typically you're traveling city to city. So it's not like you're resting in that time. You're typically getting up on the bus or on the plane to the next city.
Unpacking, repacking,
unpacking, but getting to the venue, going right on stage. The second year, because we had done great that first year, and I was just flying high from being on my first international tour because we had, I did well. The second year, I actually put it into my contract that every 4 days, so I had like 3 days off.
You had the break.
So we had a break, like every 4 shows, like we would have a break. So basically, they did it where we kind of, me and him kind of like co-headlines. So on one of the nights I wouldn't go, he'd kind of go. So just building that in was.
Yeah, and that's important because you have to take care of yourself. Yeah, this one comedian, I can't think of his name, but he's a vegan. And some years ago, I heard that if it's a city that wants to book him, if they don't have a place where he can eat the food that he needs to eat, he don't go to that city. He's like, I'm good.
Wow.
Yeah, he's like, I'm
good. I want to get to that level where I can have all sorts. I'm sure you're there. Your rider demands, I'm sure. I just have a Dasani in the corner. I'm fine.
So check this out. So Fatin from Kindred Family Soul is your big brother. Now, how does that, and first of all, so one time you were going to perform, I don't know if you were sick. This was way pre-COVID. And I don't know if you were double booked. We talked about the double book.
At the Birchmere?
No, it wasn't the Birchmere. It was Baltimore Live. It was in Baltimore. Okay. And I actually got to open for them. So that's the first time I met them. And one of my good girlfriends, Nichelle, to this day, Nichelle Johnson, I met her there. She booked me for an event she was having after, and we've been people ever since. So thank you. That was
That's shout out to Kindred. They like the first couple of soul, the neo soul, and
they go.
My big brother, man, was the first one. He was the reason I got my passport for the first time. That I ever wound up traveling internationally in my teenage years because I kind of was, traveling with them, helping them with the babies, and that really gave me so much exposure to people, places, and things outside of my daily routine. And that was transformative for me. It's like he was my first real mentor, in my career, because I saw the way that he navigated in his career and he managed himself. And, I learned a lot just kind of watching him. So, and now I was just with him last night. We was up in New York. Now he's like reinventing himself. He's DJing now. He took up a hobby it is, and he's decent. We went to DJ Scratch's 50-year hip hop celebration last night. So they still rocking out, man.
That's beautiful. So I don't want you to be jealous.
I'm very jealous.
I actually met Fatin at age of like when Michelle Wright had a television show on public access. And I don't know if they still have the same manager. It was a guy. He was fine. I mean, he was nice looking. I was married at the time, so I couldn't really look the way I was like, "Ooh, he gorgeous." But we did the public access show, and I think like during the pandemic, I think Michelle Wright had like reposted like a picture or something. Did they have a van at that time?
They did, I believe.
Yeah. See, I met them before you. Don't be jealous.
So you met them first before you met me. And okay, so you go back. But I feel like we became closer. You know, they say in my religion, you got to travel, you got to break bread with a person, travel with a person.
That's right. That's right. We done that. We did that. So yeah. So I want to get them on the show too. So go ahead. I got Asia phone number. I'm gonna go ahead and hit her up. I had Mumu on. Mumu was on years ago. Lord was on a couple of months ago, and I know her from. I used to volunteer with Womb Work, which she was a part of in Baltimore when she was a teenager. I can't believe that she is a grown woman with a almost a grown child, right?
She had them women crying in that seminar she did.
Let me tell you something, honey. That song she got, I want to be in love. That is my song. Okay. That is my.
When you hearing it here first, you're gonna get Kindred. When you're ready for they're on here. I'm
okay. We're gonna make it happen. Yes, and then I saw them at actually no, I opened for them twice. Okay. So you were the first time, and then at Howard Theater. Yes, at the Howard Theater when they were at Howard Theater before.
That was another time when I was supposed to do a Howard Theater event with them. I was on the website and everything, and and something happened, and I never made it. And I think I might be banned from.
So you think was that a show I did?
That's the show that you did. That was the one that
I. I'm telling you, it was two.
Well, you must have
what's the name used to book us
because I remember I couldn't make one of those, and they were like, the venue was like never again. So. That happened to me. The Birchmere had me on the marquee and everything, and I got stuck on 95. It was out of my control, but they was like, he can't come back here.
You're so busy. But yes, we're going to get Kindred Family Soul on. Okay, so let's talk about. You said today is the 11th-year anniversary of Soul of Laughter show.
9 years. Yeah, 9 years.
9 years.
We did the Soul of Laughter series was a thing. Shout out to Anwar Amin, DJ A Square, man. He was my partner back, one of the big producers actually from Philadelphia for shows. You know, he was the guy back when I first started doing comedy. Anwar, it was like Anwar, Patty, you know, Mike. He was like the big comedian. I mean, the big promoters.
Right.
So we started the Soul and Laughter series, which was like a live concert comedy show. And I'll say, man, it again back with that innovation is rewarded, execution is worship. Like really, like. What's the saying that they say? Imitation is the best
form of flattery.
Everything that I know, I'm a product of people that did things before me already.
Right.
You know, there are a lot of y'all, the pioneer comedians that have done things, had shows, you know, clean comedy shows or half R&B shows. It's y'all laid the foundation for that. There's been a million Soul and Laughters and this, that, and the third, and so we always pay homage to that as well. But we started this thing, the Soul and Laughter series, and it was just. When I kind of came out, my big thing was I didn't really want to curse on stage. You know, this even before I was doing the Muslim market, I just never really felt comfortable, mainly because I wanted the whole generation of family to come out and sit in the audience and be okay. The children to the parents, the grandparents, my mother would want to come out, and I knew at least in my market, from my experiences, my people coming out were Muslim, and they just didn't want to be in those environments. So what the Soul and Laughter series was me and Let My People Laugh, which became my production company. Was me creating my own platform to produce my own shows where I know I can, you know, filter the stage. It's clean comedy, R&B. Come here, you don't have to worry about hearing this. That. I would, you know, sometimes we buy the bar out and wouldn't be any alcohol where you don't have to, you know, I wanted my environment. I wanted to create. There's a difference between customer service and customer experience. And I wanted to have a great experience. And so the Soul and Laughter, the first one we did actually was Kindred. We sold that out. We had almost 600 people in Philadelphia. It was Kindred. We had Touré. I think Lawrence Killebrew. I mean, it was a fantastic. They did a live band show. Shout out to Top Flight.
Oh wow!
I think maybe Buck Wild was there. It was an amazing night.
Wow, crazy behind.
Crazy. And then the second one we did with Kelly Price. Man, Kelly Price came down, shut it down.
Of course.
Shut it down.
Woo! Yes.
And it was spectacular. So we need part 3. We need part 3.
I want to be on part 3. You know that I do clean shows. I've done a few shows at the mosque.
Are you going to pick me up? If you got to do the same bit that you did in Bermuda that made me fall in love with you as a comedian, you got to pick me up and squirrel me.
I don't really be picking people up no more because the way the insurance is set up nowadays, people be looking for a reason. Okay?
You know what? Just like you just said about the tour schedule. And of course I'm the baby of the bunch, but even my little 12, 13 years in, whatever it is that now I curate even my offers differently because I don't even think I could do an 11 to 12 city tour, the back-to-back tours. I'm just so like it was so taxing that I can't even put myself in those environments like that.
No, it's for real. And it's so funny what you were saying as far as like performing certain places and all. I know that I can control me. You understand? I'm in control of myself. So I know that when I go certain places, if it don't feel right, and I talk, and I'm not, when somebody book me for a show, I'm like, okay, and I don't care. They may be a comedian that don't cuss and all of that. Don't mean the environment they go.
Right.
Now I cuss, so let's be clear. I use profanes.
Come on.
I use profane, but I'm not gutter. I'm grown.
Come on.
It's a difference.
There is a big difference between gutter and grown.
I ain't judging. I'm not gutter. I'm grown.
Yeah.
So I think that in certain places I don't mind like keying with somebody, but I'm not gonna be battling and going back and forth with you, and who they paid to see me and whoever else on the show, not you. And I don't think it's fair to the audience. So those shows I'm not interested in doing. Now you really can't control it because you never know, because you can be in a nice environment and think that it ain't gonna go down, but let somebody get so much juice in them, and so that's my thing. So I understand you want to be where you're comfortable and you can be represented well.
But now, because someone asked me recently, like even me being, a Muslim comedian, it really is just like I'm Muslim and I'm a comedian, because the only difference is the same set. I just did a show at Punchline Comedy Club with Chanel. Shout out to Chanel Travis.
That's
we did a show at Punchline. The same set that I did at Punchline is the set that I did on the Super Muslim Comedy Tour. I'm just doing clean comedy. It's not comedy that like is only Muslim. And I was so inspired by Russell Peters. Russell Peters and Joe Coy are two comedians that I'm hugely inspired by, because I felt like they brought mainstream into their culture by explaining things in ways that made it relatable to us.
That's right. That's right.
I don't have a Filipino mom, but my black mom does things like this. And the set that I do is the same set that I'll do and have done in the Stand or in the Laugh Factory or the Laugh House, or and doing in a Muslim.
And it's so funny because all you have to do is, like, if I'm doing a show where I'm using profanity and I'm going to perform at a church or a corporate event, just change your vocabulary. That's it. Just change it up. Just make it work. And people would like call. I'm interested in hiring you. Are you a Christian comedian? I'm a comedian.
Come on.
I do comedy.
Yeah.
Are you a Muslim comedian? I do comedy.
I do comedy.
Because see, when someone says put religion in it, it's speaking of, are you going through, for example, Christian, the Bible, doing those, you see what I'm saying? I do comedy. You know what I'm saying? Do you want a show that is clean? I'm gonna do comedy. That's it.
And you might have a word or two or a bit or something in there. Like, for example, I might use a phrase, an Arabic phrase in the crowd for the Muslims that they understand.
That's right.
When I'm in the crowd, I'll do that same joke and might just explain around what that word means.
Right.
I'm
That's
just
right.
adding another line to it, but I'm gonna do the same set and make it relatable.
So we're going to talk about, we're going to come back to the web series, but we're going to talk about the family trip that you all took to UNRWA. Let's talk about that and your mom and that. When I saw those pictures, it was beautiful. It was like, y'all must have really it's like everybody in your family got their tax return and they got it at the same time.
Listen.
Because that trip ain't cheap.
We had
did y'all sleep together?
It was deep. Let me tell you how God worked though with that trip.
Did y'all get an Airbnb over there? Because it was about 20 of y'all.
We definitely Airbnb. We had the rock, paper, scissors to bed. A couple of nights my mom didn't make it. But one of the things, that trip, I actually went on that trip, on my own spiritual journey on that trip, right? The year prior. When I was on that trip, my uncle, who is at that time was in hospice and kind of bedridden and everything, he saw my pictures on social media from that trip, right? So he calls me up. He says, he knew he was like, he didn't have much time left, but he's like, if you could make Umrah on my behalf, I'll pay for you to go on Umrah if you make it on my behalf for me, right? With one condition, that I make it during the month of Ramadan, our holy month of Ramadan. So which was a huge honor for me. So of course I accepted it. The money that he gave me was enough for me to book a ticket for me and my mother to go. And it wound up being the catalyst for all of my siblings. Like once my mom signed on, my brother and his wife was like, "Oh, I'm coming," and my sister came, and her husband, and my other sister. It was like a huge big thing. And then it suddenly was like we was calling ourselves the Umrah 11 because we was 11 deep, and I planned the trip from top to bottom. But what was spectacular about it was a week before we left, that uncle, when I called him to tell him give him an update and tell him, your generosity spurred, now 11 people are going to make Umrah in your name.
Wow.
To get that. And he passed away a week later. So that trip was like so special for us because, even being, my mother had been, Muslim 40 plus years and said she never fathomed even seeing the holy Kaaba with her own eyes. So to be able to walk around it with her sons, and I pushed her wheelchair around there. It was like a great honor. That trip was spectacular.
That's awesome. So to explain what Kaaba is and what Umrah is.
Yeah, so Umrah is pretty much where there's two like spiritual pilgrimages in Islam. One is like the Hajj, or if you have the means to do a Hajj, is like one of our obligatory type things to do, which is our big long strenuous.
You got to be bill free. You got to pay all your debt.
Okay, that's like our Iron Man. Okay, that's our Iron Man right there. It's built into our religion.
You can't owe nobody. You can't owe nobody on Cash App. You can't owe nobody on
don't bring no underwear, because you were going commando the entire time in the Holy Land. There's no draws allowed. Okay.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Well, not when you're making the actual spiritual Umrah. Yeah, you can't have no underwear on. Women actually can, I believe, but not men.
Because you need to let the spirit come through.
It got to flow through somewhere, and there's a lot of stale air there, so you want to make sure it's breathable. But one of the things that we do on Umrah, no, it's a spectacular trip, but yeah, it really is like Umrah is like the baby Hajj, where you don't go through all of the different rituals, but a part of it is circumventing the Kaaba, and the Kaaba is that house, that in Islam that the Prophet built, and it's the house of God. And
door, right?
That's one of the doors. That may be the actual door of the Kaaba, it looks like, which is the main gold doors. And in Islam, we believe that space in between the front door and the corner, where is this piece of stone, we believe that's like there's the picture right there. That was the night before we all left. To go. That's all of my siblings right there. My mom. If you notice, my sister next to me, she's actually photoshopped in there. She lives in California and hadn't made it up yet, so I had to Photoshop her in there.
You did good. There
you go.
Yes, that is awesome. Yes, my dad went to Umrah.
That's right in front of. That's in Medina. So we did Mecca and Medina. That picture is in front of the Grand Mosque, where our Holy Prophet Muhammad is buried right behind us in that building. And that's us standing right outside, all of my siblings, my mom, and their, that was a trip right there.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. And it's so wow. And you're making prayer.
Come on, shout out to the production. First off, can y'all understand what's going on? I don't understand. This woman is back here pulling and schooling. I gave her none of this stuff. She's searching it and she's putting it on the screen, and we're gonna get Tanya her flowers.
Cat.
She's pulling all the stuff out. She's like, and this is him vicaring and praying in the Grand Mosque. She's queuing it up, right? What I'm talking about. You better go ahead, T. In my head, that's the culmination of the Umrah. You have to shave your head right there. Umrah complete. And so, and I think I look pretty good with a baldy, if I may say so myself.
Oh,
that's right in front of the Kaaba. That's the Holy Kaaba right behind us.
Oh, wow.
That's my mom, my aunt, all of my siblings. Kindred is with us. Shout out to Kindred, the family soul. And that's Imam Idris right down there, one of the resident imams in Philadelphia. That was that picture right there. That was, you know what? Right before, after that, my father, when he first made his Umrah in the late 90s, he had a water jug that was like a cherished possession of his when he passed, that I inherited. And it had never been back in Mecca in that spot where he got it, to fill it with the water. I took it on that trip, and there's pictures of us passing it around, tears in our eyes, sipping from my dad's water jug for the first time since he had brought it there. So
that's beautiful, Moses. That is absolutely beautiful. And it's so ironic that you said how your uncle asked you to go on his behalf. And my dad, I told you that he actually, a friend of his, a brother friend of his, out of appreciation for my dad and his friendship, this brother had come into some money, and he was going to Umrah, and he took my dad as a surprise gift. And my father had hip surgery. So this was like, my dad is 85 now. So this was like, he was in his 60s, I believe. He was in his mid to late 60s.
And he got surprised with Umrah. That's a trip.
Isn't that something? So he went, and he was, I think he was finished with all his like physical therapy and all of that. And they got him a wheelchair so he wouldn't have put so much stress on his hip. It may have been his knee too, because I think he had the knee and the hip back to back. Whatever, he went, he had a cane, but he had a wheelchair so he could be able to get around. He brought me and all of my sisters, 6 girls total. Out of all his children, the 6 girls, and he brought all of us our chain. So early, I had on my amber necklace, my signature amber, but I was like, wait a minute,
You got to get the
Yeah,
Uno
my
one.
Uno necklace.
Listen, I don't mind traveling with your dad because after traveling with my mother, she's in a wheelchair as well. Those are the people to travel with, okay? Because we got usher to the front of every line. So
Let
I
me
was like, I'm
explain
sorry.
something to you. The usher. You need the wheelchair, the cane.
The cane is
cane,
it.
okay.
The
Wait,
Eddie
not
cane.
the cane, but the walkers in a wheelchair, they're gonna get you. You gonna get on the plane first.
The Eddie cane gonna get you so much. The wheelchair is gonna part the sea like Moses.
Okay, we're gonna walk on this water together in the wheelchair. So yes, so that is a beautiful, beautiful experience, and it just moved me when I saw it on Facebook. No, on IG, and I may have seen it on Kindred Fateen's page. I may have seen it on.
Yeah, man.
Like, this is so
even what I realized is that trip, as special as it was for me, it was so transformative for all of them. You never know how it was so special for me that, like, we have a saying where we say, God can use you as an intercessor sometimes to bless someone else. Like, he might bless you by allowing you to be the vessel. So when I thought about how some of my siblings had talked about praying for a spiritual respark, something to kind of respark them in their faith, like God for that. And then suddenly this trip appears for them. And it's an opportunity because a lot of times we be displaced from the possibility of a thing. And then once someone else is doing it, you're like, oh, I can make a pilgrimage like for the same amount.
Everybody got their tax return, and y'all claimed other people's kids and everything.
Listen, I claimed 16 other kids that weren't mine to fund this trip. I'm gonna let you know. I thank my whole neighborhood because I had to put about 18 security numbers, but we all made it.
So listen, all right. So talk about the web series, and we have to talk about your store. So tell about the website. It's always sunny with
it's always Sunni. What's always Sunni?
It's always
it's Sunni. Yep. So it's a play on it's always
I was like, it's always Sunni.
It's always
in Philadelphia.
Always Sunni in Philly. Come on, in Philly, because y'all know Philadelphia is like the Muslim capital, the Muslim Mecca. You're actually anyone actually watching this podcast tonight, you've actually taken your shahada by coming this far. Thank you. You're a Muslim now.
Listen, and in Philly and Newark, New Jersey, they cousins. So you're in Newark, everybody Muslim, and just
ever since we found out y'all history with Malcolm X, we kind of cut y'all off though. So we don't shout Newark too much. We saw the documentary, damn it.
So and I'm gonna keep my mouth closed. But listen,
no, but Philly is like you know what? People call Philadelphia, literally internationally when I travel, people refer to Philadelphia as Little Mecca. Because Philadelphia, we have over 300,000 Muslims in the city of Philadelphia, but particularly the Muslims are integrated into the fabric of the city so much, where from the zoning to the educational board to the infrastructure. So the Muslims have and when we opened our store, the Ummah shop, we're the only Islamic department store in a major U.S. mall. And so we really catering to a population in the city that majority of people are Muslim. So it kind of works out.
And I went to King of Prussia Mall before because they used to have intimacies. And one of my friends had told me I should go there and get a bra. I think she was telling me I needed to lift myself up and raise my self-esteem. But I still got that bra to this day. It was $70. And I am going to be buried in that bra. I purchased that bra in 2006, 7. Oh yeah, I still got it.
$70 in 06. That was about $150 for that bra. I know that thing is special.
It's washed very carefully. I'm gonna be buried in that bra. Let's be very, very
okay. Well, we don't sell bras, but we have spectacular abayas and overgarments and t-shirts. We have our vision for the Ummah shop was, if you've ever heard of Angie's List, it was like Angie's List, but for Muslim-owned brands and businesses. So
that's beautiful. I think
it was like a one-stop shop under one roof for all different Muslim. Every single thing in the store sold. Then every single vendor is 100% a Muslim business. So you got to take your shahada to get on our platform, unfortunately. So y'all can come on over. The water's fine. Anybody else?
I'm gonna ask you this. This is a sidebar back to what you were saying earlier. So me being from Newark, New Jersey, which there are a lot of Muslims there. Did you grow up where people took on attributes, Muslim names, just out of respect for the Muslim community, right? So I came home one day and I said to my mom, I was like, I said, they all have Muslim names. They all have attributes. I said, Mommy, what's mine? She said, Aisha. She said, because
that's how you got the name.
She said, Aisha. Because they was like, I got mine. And I was like, huh? But so, and just out of respect, so there are people in Newark that are not Muslim, but they will give the greetings. They will do during Ramadan, they will fast, all of those things. So I know that is huge in Philadelphia then.
Oh yeah, for
I know
sure.
it's huge.
Philly
Yeah.
is like, again, everybody's your cousin. Either your cousin is Muslim, you're a Muslim. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yep.
Somebody in your family is Muslim. So there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of Muslims in Philadelphia where they're the first generation of Muslims in their family. You
Yes,
know,
my dad. Yep, my
yeah.
dad,
So,
my dad and my mom. Absolutely. But this
you
is
know,
crazy. So my great grandmother actually was teaching my dad, and my sister's on here. She could said one of the prayers when he was like 5, teaching him the Muslim prayer. Isn't that something? And then later on in life, he became, well, it's his
they became a Muslim.
prime in his like late 20s, 30s. He became Muslim. So yeah. So okay. So the Umrah shop. And the Umrah is a community of believers, Muslims. That's what the name is.
The Ummah. So Umrah, like the
not Umrah,
pilgrimage, is Ummah. Yeah,
Ummah,
Ummah is like the
Sunni, and
community.
Umrah.
The Ummah is like the collective, the community shop.
Right.
The Ummah shop. This is our store here. Beautiful store. 3
She
dressing.
on it, honey.
Listen, one of the dressing rooms we actually converted into a prayer room because growing up, that's one of the things being Muslim, you always got to like go into Macy's or run out to the car to try to hide in the dressing room and pray. So we wanted to turn one of our spaces into a prayer room for any denomination. We get people come in and meditate. People come in, Christians, they may come in to pray or they need to nurse, and Muslims come in, you make salat. And so the space is really just curated for other mom and pop Muslim brands and businesses to have the exposure.
I love it. When I went to Mali, West Africa, I love being there because with the prayer 5 times a day, the clock would just sound, and it would like people would just be in prayer. One time I remember passing the masjid, one of the masjid, and it would just, you could just feel all the energy and the love and the power behind a group of people being in unison to pray. That was beautiful. So I know
right there, all of those sisters there. Shout out to, there's a group out of Philadelphia, that woman right there in the front. Shout out to Manazah. She has a group called the Traveling Muslimas, and they're like 100 members deep. They literally are a group of Muslim sisters, that just got together and said they're tired of sitting at home. They want to travel the world. They've been to Colombia, they've been to Iceland, they've been to Dubai. And she brought them all to the Ummah shop. And so the Travel Muslims
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I have a friend that just taught. She taught for 1 year over in Dubai. And I told her I wanted a prayer rug. So a Pakistani Muslim that she teaches with was like, I will go and get your friend. She was asking the students and they couldn't tell. She actually went to Mecca, got my prayer rug. She got me the compass, a pen. I don't know what the pen for. But everything. And I was like, I told my dad, of course, he was just filled with. This woman never laid eyes on me, talked to me on the phone. I was like, that's Muslim. Come on. I said, that's Muslim.
Shout out to Van Jones. He said on like CNN, like the best neighbor you can have, is a Muslim, man. I'll say, because
I love it.
When practiced properly, obviously the tenets really of it. And shout out to, listen, this is one of our, I actually own the trademark for Unapologetically Muslim.
I love it. Okay, you better come through. Trademark.
And I can't trademark it, but this is one of our biggest designs in the store, our Super Muslim tee. Yes. So, this is just really, the whole concept behind Unapologetically Muslim is not having to apologize or make concession for what you believe in, and I try to use comedy and my platform to subvert the stereotype of Islamophobia and bigotry and racism. So comedy is like the perfect vehicle to have those uncomfortable conversations.
Okay. So thank you so much. And you are blessing us and educating us all at the same time. Brother Moses the comic. So before we close out, I want you to tell us about your web series. It's Always Sunni in Philadelphia.
Come on, it's Always Sunni. That's a show that of course, loosely placed on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but Sunni is like one of the sects of Islam as far as belief systems. Majority of people are Sunni Muslims. You have Salafi Muslims and some other sects, but so It's Always Sunni in Philadelphia. Majority of the Muslims in Philly are Sunni Muslims, and Black Muslims. I taught a class on Black Muslim history, and the history of the Muslim in America is centered on Black Muslim history, and a lot of that history was started in New York and Philadelphia, the Dar es Salaam movement,
Newark, New Jersey,
and Newark had a little hand in a couple of things. I guess y'all did a few things. But the Black Muslims, basically, this show was kind of centered around, Sunni Islam and how it really played on to the landscape of Islam in America. And so it's loosely based, it's like Curb Your Enthusiasm, but based around my life, loosely based, because I was so inspired by Curb, the way they they'll get framework, they'll pretty much just like workshop a scene where they might know the destination and just have the flexibility to kind of get there. And I wanted to try to create an environment like that. So I got all the Muslim influencers together. Shout out to Nadira Pierre and, you know, Matt Black and Omar Regan and all the different influencers to just do our own show. You know, got the production, we hired the professional crew and just film some episodes. And so it's loosely based around me following Moses the comic and like 3 of my friends, like 4 of us, and our experiences with our wives and our families. And it's hilarious.
I love it. And I love when we collaborate together. You know what I'm saying? It's enough for everybody. You know, I think it's enough for everybody. And I love, and that this is also coming from Islamic community, being Muslim, we create for ourselves. Like, I don't really know a Muslim that is not an entrepreneur, because that's what's taught. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what's really taught. So creating several opportunities for yourself. And just like when I have the funniest stilettos, like create for yourself and bring other people along, because we are not here to do it by ourselves. We are here for one another all the time, every time, all day.
Come on.
Okay.
Come on. So let me tell you one of my favorite quotes, and it's a quote about intentions and how we got to keep pure intentions. It's a quote in our religion that said there was one of the companions was talking to the prophet in Islam, and he said a drop of rain can fall into the mouth of a seashell or the mouth of a snake. And he said in a seashell, that drop of rain would turn into a pearl, and in a snake, that drop of rain would turn into poison. So he said our knowledge and the intentionality behind our knowledge in the wrong or right hands can be it can be a blessing or it can be a curse. And so I think we got to be very, at least with our platforms and what we're doing with the store, with my career and, you know, the classes and everything, trying to still have some component where we're still pouring into the community and doing something positive where we use a platform in a way in which can have a greater narrative.
Absolutely, because, you know, that brings us to another point. Like, we all know that we probably done touched some money that wasn't the right money, but because we pray and our intentions was good, we washed it. Praise God.
I say Bismillah over everything. We got that's our term, Bismillah. Like, you know, just say that about 3 or 4 times, and that's how you wash it.
Well, my brother Moses the comic, thank you so much for blessing us with your presence. Thank you for your yes. Thank you that though we were late, Bismillah, that we got.
Don't pay no attention to that. This was a Color People production. I apologize that I was so late. Shout out to this fabulous platform, the production from top to bottom, all the behind the scenes people. I'm telling you, she got about 6 people working back there. None of them have been paid all this year. It's a lot of child labor laws being broken. I don't think no one was over 15. But one of the things, support this platform.
This is what's so crazy. So we haven't communicated. I think when you were living in Atlanta. And like when I first moved, I think maybe like 6 years ago, we may have communicated, but we just picked up, we just keep it flowing. I was like, is Moses still in Atlanta? I got to see Moses, because, you know, you got to have your people. Wherever you go, you got to have your people. You got to be connected. Like we were talking earlier about Yasin's fish. Oh my gosh. Now you got me wanting fish. I got to find the one location that I think that's still open, which is probably on Memorial Drive.
So you fry fish? I mean, because I know you mean in that kitchen. I've heard the rumors.
I can fry some fish. Like, we having house music in the park on Sunday, September 3rd, and they asking for fish. So, and I got some good Andy seasoning fish that my homegirl, my buddy, my sister, Angela Little, sends to me from St. Louis, but they do carry here. But it just feel better to me that she sends it to me from where it originated from. Oh, my fish be on point. I sell it $5 for a quarter Ziploc bag too. Because it's that.
Is it seasoned well?
Yes, honey. You can. The fish seasoned so good you can fry the chicken in it. And the chicken's still gonna taste like chicken. Peace and blessings, Moses. I love and appreciate you again. Thank you for your yes. Check out Moses the comic. Check out the Uma shop at King of Prussia Mall, also online. You see his social media contact, and you can see him all on all of the social media platforms with his web series. Catch him on
MosesTheComic.com as well.
MosesTheComic.com. MosesTheComic.com. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum.
Love you.
Love you. Thank you so much for checking out another dope episode of I Know Dope People with Queen Aishah. And I just love Moses to death because he is hilarious. He is intelligent. He's informative. And he's going to be cutting up. He's sitting in the back right now ready to say something. He already told Katanya, he asked Katanya if she got a passport. We're just going to leave it right there. You're not messing with him. He's laughing. Yo, peace and blessings. If you have not and have not yet followed me on social media, I'm Queen Aishah everywhere on the YouTube channel, Queen Aishah, QueenAishah. Please put that last H on to remind you, happy, healthy, hilarious, hottie, Geraldine and Donald, my parents wanted me to have an H. So I'm carrying my H well. Peace.